April 25th, 2017 saw the release of Shovel Knight's second piece of DLC, Specter of Torment, released on PS4. Came out first on Switch a few weeks ago and on PC as far as I know, but whatever. It's been nearly 2 years since the first DLC, Plague of Shadows, released in September 2015. The long wait is cushioned, however, by the fact that Specter of Torment is free to anyone who already owns Shovel Knight, and can be purchased standalone on any digital storefront if you don't. Above all, this DLC is the beginning of the end of Shovel Knight, the game, not the character. This is the penultimate piece of DLC with King Knight's campaign right around the corner. That's a pretty impressive achievement considering the game first came out in 2014. Specter of Torment and the other DLCs were first announced as stretch goals way back during the 2013 Kickstarter campaign. How has this particular DLC starring everyone's favorite boss shaped up over the years, and how does it fit in with the overall Shovel Knight cinematic universe? Let's find out. If you've ever played Shovel Knight before, and considering how popular it is, chances are high, you'll know this particular DLC stars Specter Knight from the sinister Order of No Quarter. The character was first announced in a May 9th, 2013 update, and as with all Order of No Quarter Knights, he was given his own backstory. In life, Specter Knight was a cruel and cunning warrior, and although his blood is now icy cold, he is no less formidable as a phantasm. The most begrudgingly loyal knight of the Order, Specter Knight follows the Enchantress only because she is capable of magically extending his undeath. Clutching his grim scythe in his shriveled claws, Specter Knight commands his weapon with uncommon cunning. And his next target is Shovel Knight. As you would expect, this demonic devil of a night ghost thing flies around the battlefield and cuts you up nice and good with a scythe. We wouldn't get our first info about his DLC though until June 21st, 2016. Here it was revealed that Specter of Torment would be a prequel to the main campaign, in which the knight was forced by the Enchantress to gather the rest of the Order of No Quarter. Specter Knight would also have his usual in-game abilities taken away, namely his flight capabilities. It's an odd decision considering the coolest and most basic conceit of the boss is that he flies around. Maybe they couldn't figure out a way to make flying fun without completely revamping the game? Still, there would be plenty of new features, like a slash ability, a double slash, and wall climbing. There would of course also be new levels, new music, and new boss fights of its own, giving you plenty to do. This also claims to be Yacht Club's most expansive DLC yet, and as stated in a later December 2016 update, they set the goal of making this a standalone game. Whereas Plague of Shadows was more of a companion to Shovel Knight, taking place mostly with the same levels and enemies, Specter of Torment is practically a sequel in its own right. This update also gives us a little bit more about the story, as well as the trailer. There's also news about Treasure Trove, a collection of all the Shovel Knight DLC that we already talked about, plus co-op and gender swap modes. And that's really all there is to say about it. Despite the full game potential here, it's still a piece of DLC, and there's just naturally less to say about it, both from developer Yacht Club Games and the updates, and really me in this video. It's hard to compare the final product to what was pitched because not much of Specter of Torment was ever pitched in the first place, really. If you like Shovel Knight, you're probably gonna like Specter of Torment as well. It's not really any worse, but it's not any better either, meaning if you don't like Shovel Knight, you won't like this. The differences are obvious at first, but the more you play around with the slashing and the wall climbing, the more you get used to it and the more it just feels like more Shovel Knight. The high production values are still there. This feels like a professional AAA video game, but without the bugs and Day 1 DLC. Actually, this is DLC, but you know what I mean. The NES platforming feeling is there as well. You could easily see this being released as a sequel to Shovel Knight coming out just a few months after, like some of the original Mega Man games were. The controls do take some getting used to, however. The slash attacks are actually attacks you can launch from mid-air, and you have to get the timing just right, especially with the myriad of obstacles designed around the move. The wall jumping and climbing in particular I struggled with the most, as Specter Knight automatically grabs hold of walls whenever you get near them, but slips and falls after only 2 or 3 seconds, and I never quite got the hang of it in my 30 minutes of playtime. Yeah, I only played half an hour. I'm sorry. I couldn't play anymore because I simply couldn't progress far enough in any one level. I've heard people say this game is too easy, but I'd bet my life they're liars. I died more in those 30 minutes than I did my entire 70-hour run in Horizon Zero Dawn. This is the hardest game I've played, probably in my life, frankly. The bottom line is that it lives up to the very few promises Yacht Club made before launch. You play as Specter Knight, and you climb some walls. This certainly is a more expansive DLC than Plague of Shadows was, and feels much more rewarding and engaging because of it. Normally I would say that since it is so similar to Shovel Knight, you might be tired of it by now, but since it's been so long since the base game and that last DLC came out, chances are you're ready for another go by now. If King Knight's currently unnamed DLC is anything like this, fans and backers alike will have plenty to love, and the fact that it's free for anyone who already owns the original is a truly fantastic thing. Most studios would sell these DLCs for $15 each and require you to buy the base game as well. That's the kind of genuine love of game development and video games you just don't see from the industry anymore. AAA studios, or even most indies. Maybe with their next game they can put that love into something a little more original. What? What? Oh, come on. I said Shovel Knight and Specter of Torment were good games. Come on. Ow! Who threw that? Come on. Ugh.